Thanks, Patrick. Okay. Okay, I'm not actually going to speak too much about medical research, if that's all right. What I'd like to do is to take you through a little bit. Everyone's very down about Japan because we have no babies, we have no future, etc., etc. I'm going to show you some of the bad news first. Then I want to show you that actually you can make a lot of money and there are lots of interesting products out there which are coming out of Japan, which is going to be the test market for the world, for the aging society. That's the sort of takeaway. So you can all get up and leave, or you can stay and watch. Okay. If I can make this work. Where am I going to do it? Patrick, this way? There we are. So the point here is that Japan is the fastest aging society in world recorded history. There is just no precedent for the speed of aging in Japan, right? If I can push this way, maybe. Doesn't seem to be working. Here we are. Doesn't. Oops. Okay, it went too far then. I want to go back one. And what people have always misunderstood, it's in the countryside they think. But if you look here, this is everywhere in Japan. This is not just the countryside, right? That's the message as well. And already we are going, people who turn 100, we are now at 26,000 of these, are going up about double every 5 years, which is staggering statistic, all right? This is Japan's demographics. There were 2 baby booms. And as you see here, no more baby booms. There are no babies, all right? Or very, very few. This is the problem. There are none of these. We now have in Japan, as you can see here, deaths have exceeded births for the first time about 1.5 years ago, right? So we are now in a declining society. And this is a classic one put out by the Japanese government some years ago. This starts in the year, this is like year 1000, which is like Genji Monogatari, all the way up here. And down here in the year 3233, the last Japanese will fade from the earth. And the land of the rising sun will become the land of the setting sun. With 2 key assumptions. 1, that we have birth rates as they currently are. And 2, there is no in-migration. Both of which will probably hold true, in my opinion. We can talk about that over dinner, okay? What does it do? For example, in the healthcare business, the average age of a GP, a kaigyo in Japanese, is now 58, right? In Tokyo, they're close to 65 to 70. They start needing geriatric care, right? This is the problem. What you see here then is 500 obstetrics and gynecology departments in hospitals have closed because they can't make any money. Right? 700, if you look here, right? Difference between this one and this one. 700 pediatric departments in major hospitals have closed because there are no babies. Right? These are staggering statistics. And what does it mean if you're the government? It means, and if you're a young person, what's to the future? We're all talking about the environment. Just think about the poor kids now. When they're out there, they're going to be supporting all these oldies. And one of the big questions is the young person going to want to work to provide pensions for old people? Right? This is going to be a very big social issue for Japan, and increasingly in the West as well. And we have, as you know, we've had this lost decade in Japan. So before Mr. Aso started spending money, we're already at 160% of GDP. Here, we're probably closer to 200% of GDP at this point, right? So where's the money going to come from? That's a big question. And as you get older, you obviously spend more money on healthcare. So almost half the expenditure Japan has right now is on the aging society. So those are the bad news. I'll now talk about some happiness. Not quite this one. If you turned 100, the Prime Minister used to give you a little cup of a certain size in silver. Because of the price of silver went up as China's demand, they've now, and the number of people who turned 100 went up, they've reduced the size of the silver cup. Right? We have saved a little money. Point being, they only had 153 of these people in 1963, and now we saw before, 26,000, right? So Prime Minister used to get hand cramps writing signed letters to the 100-year-old people. Now, what are you going to do, after 65? You retire earlier in Japan, but let's assume 65. You still got to hang around, for 22 years as you're a female, on average, and 17 as a male. And that's still a long time to hang around. So, what you'd like to do is, in Japanese, is to be pin korori, right? Now, pin is in Japanese for being healthy, and korori means you roll over and die, right? You want to go all the way up there, pin, and just roll over, right? The other one, which has become very popular, is this Pokkuritera. There's a whole series of temples now going around saying, come to my temple, I'm a Pokkuritera. And Pokkuri means the same thing, you just roll over and die. So you go to the temple, pray, and Pokkuri, you roll over in due course, not at the temple, right? Right? And so this is people all out, they're all going to temples and praying because they all want to get there, and it's not just Japan, everyone wants to get there. You want to get there healthy and roll over and die. You don't want to be lying in a hospital with things up your nose. This is how you'd like to be, okay? Okay, so you have physical aging, social aging, taste and preference changes as you get older, and mental aging. I'm just going to talk a few of these. We haven't got time, so I'll just take you through a few of these. What does the average Japanese 65-year-old oldie people want? They don't want to have bokeh. The Japanese word is, they don't want to have Alzheimer's, right? And you don't want to be netakiri. Netakiri means bedridden. Every Japanese now has at least one relative, one parent, one somebody who is in bed and can't get out, or is bokeh, right? And the last thing you want to do is become bokeh, right? So, and the problem also in Japan is all of the bokeh people are treated, you're in home, right? This is your problem. You're going to have to live with these people in this tiny Japanese house, right? There is no facilities out there for you, right? So, let's talk about one example of how we try to prevent bokeh coming out of Japan, which is now going to change the world, in my opinion, right? Brain imaging we heard earlier this morning, so I won't take you through it, but Professor Kawashima, who's up in Tohoku, has developed a form of treatment which helps dementia or prevents dementia. We're not prevent it yet, but it slows the onset, okay? And he put a book out about this, and it sold 2 million copies in the first year. Now, I just should tell you, this is his book. Some of the Japanese audience, I'm sure, have read it and may probably have bought it. 28-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds spent most of the people buying this, right? To do for themselves and or to look after their parents, right? That's, an average bestseller in Japan is 20,000. 2 million is a serious number. He's put out about 5 or 6 more books ever since that time. So there's no young children, so what does Kumon do, which is the largest cram school? They did a joint venture with this gentleman, and now they're teaching anti-bokeh courses for the oldies in cram schools. A very neat business concept. Local governments now using this. Nintendo took this, and you've probably seen this went out in the West as well now. The brain training went out in Nintendo as well, okay? Now, another person says, actually, curry, the yellow ingredients in curry, curcumin, will in fact stop the sticky protein, the beta amyloids in your brain. And so they're working on this right now. They quoted that in India, curry is frequently consumed, there's less Alzheimer's. One could also, as a statistician, say not many people live till 85 in India, therefore the statistics are a little invalid. However, if you do believe it and take too much of it, you can have this famous toilet paper if it goes through too fast. Okay? Now, another interesting one is, this is the blue line is the population component, and this is the death toll in traffic accidents. So what normally happens in the West, you can't get good insurance under 25 because all young boys go around and kill themselves in cars. The biggest growth of traffic accidents is here, right? You think about this, when you get a little older, your hanshishinke, what do you call it, the reflexes slow down. And your eyesight gets a bit like this. So suddenly, you're going to have all these Japanese 70-year-olds driving down, 50 million of them driving down a road, right, with no reflexes and no eyesight, right? So what are you going to do? So Toyota has done a deal now with Mr. Kawashima. And they're working on a joint research team And they're going to have a car which is going to, by the year 2050, it's going to monitor your brain reflexes and concentration. We don't know any more than that at this point, but that's what they're planning to do. And so you think General Motors is just coming back, and suddenly they just lost the hybrid battle, and now they're going to lose the brain control battle of a car. Right? Kawashi was working with Yamaha because no one's buying big motorbikes in Japan. All the 50-year-olds in America buy Harley-Davidsons. They're trying to figure out how we can get the Japanese to buy Harley-Davidsons, right? Or the variation. Laughter therapy, another one which is working, trying to improve cancer and diabetes, working together with Yoshimitsu, Kogyo, who provide all the manzai comedians in Japan. They're working with a professor. They take blood pressures. They take blood samples before and after the laughter and check, and they're putting into genetic screening, and they're going to build a business around this. Okay, very interesting stuff. Agriculture. You think about this, only 22% of farm households actually engage in Japan in full-time farming. 60% of anybody under the age of 65. Okay? Only 10% have someone to take over the farm. What's going to happen? Who's going to feed the people? You look out 10 years, how is Japan going to feed itself? Right? A big, big issue. So, technology to the fore, hydroponics coming. Right? Already, these are hydroponic factories all over Japan. Telemedicine, there's no doctors in the smaller country cities. So what's now happening? They're getting people to come into central locations like the city hall, local hall, put little screens up there, photographs, send the stuff through to the big hospitals and solve your problem. Right. Digital nursing homes. Matsushita, which is now Panasonic, got a digital nursing home as a test market for Alzheimer's. Everything is digitized. The bed, it takes all the sort of stuff here. Right? A little teddy bear, which checks artificial intelligence. You can talk to the teddy bear, he talks back to you. And of course, back to the famous toilets. I couldn't leave without toilets. Everyone's had toilets today. Intelligent toilet. This one now will take, sorry, before that one, this one here, you also get your blood sugar levels and everything else. So every day you can now measure it and put it straight into the hospital if you want it. Okay? Now, when you get old, you can sort of sit down, but you can't get up. Okay? So we now have a little button that sort of pushes you up. Okay? This is going to take over the world. I mean, it's just so simple, right? Okay? This is how it works. All right. Death by drowning in the bath. Everyone, once you get to the biggest age, people drowning in the bath. So they've invented a little anti-bath pillow. You put it here so you don't fall under the grass and fall asleep when you're in the bath, when you're getting a certain age, which is quite a big problem. Here we have magnetic therapy braziers. As you get the old, you get katakori, right? We call it stiffness in the shoulders. So now the Wacoal has come out with this brazier with a brand called Grappi, which is a really lovely brand name. But, and it's got all magnets all through. It improves the blood circulation and helps you to reduce having katakori. Targeted at the 60 plus. Sheets, turning someone who's netakiri, they've now developed sheets that work this way, right? This is one of my favorite ones, is this one here. Grandma gets up every morning. She's supposed to boil the hot water, put the hot water in the pot. If she doesn't, by 10 o'clock in the morning, for example, this sends a digital signal, an internet signal to the cell phone of the daughter. The daughter can then see if she's okay. If she doesn't have it by 10 o'clock in the morning, she rings up and you're okay. Very simple, but very neat and very unobtrusive monitoring. The oldies do not want to be monitored, right? This is a very clever way to do it. Right? Robotics. I think this is one of the big growth areas for Japan. The different types, standard robots like these coming. Japan doesn't have a fear of robots like the West. Robots are good guys, right? We've had Doraemon and Atom Boy around for 50, 60, 70 years now, right? They're members of the family. And so this is what the companion robots are going to be a very big deal for the oldies because there's no children, right? And a lot more of those companion robots. And also, this is Paro the furry seal. He's now out there doing a very good job, and you get tactile sensations. And the oldies love this, right? And very importantly, it goes purr, purr, when like that, right? And so they get really happy. Very importantly, it doesn't bite, and it doesn't do poo-poo all over the ground. So this is a really neat product, right? And I think this is going to take the world by storm. This is, of course, Asimo. We know him. This is where robotics are going to be in Japan in the future, probably 5 to 10 more years out. It'll maybe solve some of the labor problems. And the last one is not just the people are getting old, but the Japanese dogs are getting old, right? Because they're getting old and they're getting fed the bad things, the same as that food nutrition lady told us this morning. The dogs are having the same problem, right? And so there's a huge growth industry in ancient and growing old dogs, right? And there's more dogs than there are children now in Japan, right? Under 15. That's a big number, right? And so to finish, this is how we'd like to finish, right? Happily at this age, and then pin, and then korori. Thank you very much. Okay.